October 1348. You just woke up in one of the richest port cities in Europe. Church bells, market noise, ships in the harbor. And this morning, one of those ships is different. A Genoese galley is drifting toward the dock, and half the men at her oars are already dead. In 30 days, half the people you can see right now will be dead. This is the deadliest pandemic in recorded history, and it just arrived in your city. And here's the part nobody tells you. What happens to you in the next 30 days depends almost entirely on one thing: who you are. 5 lives, 5 completely different odds. This is the Black Death, day by day, decision by decision. The clock starts now. Let's find out if you survived. First, let's find out who you are. Because in 1348, there's no vaccine, no cure, no germ theory. Your survival kit is your position in the world, where you sleep, what you touch, who you're obligated to visit. There are 5 versions of you in this city. Meet them. Version 1, the peasant. You work a strip of land outside the walls. You've never traveled 20 miles from where you were born, you can't read, and you share your one-room house with your animals. Ironically, your isolation might be the best medicine in Europe, or your entire village dies to the last soul. For you, this plague is all or nothing, a coin flip. Version 2, the merchant. You're rich, well-fed, and you live in the best neighborhood in the city, which is exactly the problem. The city is about to become the deadliest place in Europe. Crowded houses, shared wells, and rats in every grain store, including yours. Your wealth came from the ships. So will the thing that kills you. Odds of dying if you stay, worse than 1 in 2. Version 3, the parish priest. Your job description is about to become: hold the hands of the dying every day in every infected house in the district. Nearly half of Europe's parish priests will be dead within 2 years, the highest death rate of almost any profession. It is, quietly, the bravest job on the continent. Version 4, the physician. You studied at university, 7 years of Galen, astrology and Latin. You're about to stand in the front row against an enemy your entire science cannot see. Many of your colleagues will flee, some will stay, catch it, survive it, and write down everything. And those notes will start rebuilding medicine from the rubble. Version 5, the noble. Castle, land, horses, and the one superpower that matters in 1348, the ability to leave today without asking anyone's permission. Your odds are the best in this story. But don't get comfortable. This plague will kill a princess of England on her way to her own wedding, and a king of Castile in his war camp. Stone walls don't stop fleas. Now understand the world you woke up in. Nobody, not you, not the Pope, not the finest university in Paris, knows that germs exist. Medicine is 4 bodily humors, the positions of the planets, and whatever Galen wrote 1200 years ago. When this disease arrives, the smartest people alive will fight it with logic, built on a completely wrong map of reality. Don't believe me? The King of France commissioned the University of Paris, the greatest medical faculty in the world, to find the cause. Their official verdict: a conjunction of Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars in the sign of Aquarius 3 years earlier corrupted the air. That's the state of the art. The best answer money can buy is astrology. And if the enemy is corrupted air, then every defense in your world targets air. Carry flowers to your nose, burn aromatic wood in the streets, keep the windows shut against the southern wind. 30 days from now, people will be pressing posies of herbs to their faces, while the real killer rides into their homes in the fur of a rat. Remember this: almost everything everyone does will be aimed at the wrong enemy. Day 28. Let's talk about those ships. A year ago, galleys fleeing the siege of a trading post on the Black Sea carried the disease to Sicily. The horrified ports did the obvious thing: they expelled the ships, which sent them sailing, still infected, to the next port, and the next. Every city that pushed the ships away didn't stop the plague, it just mailed it to its neighbors. Now a ship like that is tied up at your dock. Here's what no one on Earth knows. The killer is a bacterium, Yersinia pestis. It lives in fleas. The fleas live on black rats. The rats live in grain sacks, wool bales, ship holds, and thatched roofs, which means the plague travels exactly as fast as trade itself. Your enemy is smaller than a grain of dust. It's already inside the walls, and there isn't a person alive who knows it exists. The disease comes in 3 forms, and which one you get is a lottery inside the lottery. Bubonic, from a flea bite. Fever, then agonizing swellings in the groin and armpits, 3 days to a week. Some people actually survive it. Pneumonic, it reaches the lungs and spreads on the breath. You have about 2 days, and almost no one survives. And septicemic, straight into the blood. You can feel fine at breakfast and be gone by the next morning. If someone in your house starts coughing blood, your decision window is measured in hours. Day 25. The first deaths in the port district. Dock workers, a sailor's landlady, a fishmonger. The city council meets. Someone proposes closing the port, and someone else says the sentence that kills cities. Trade is money. Let's wait and see. Every port city in Europe has this exact meeting. Almost every one of them waits. And now the doctors go to work and make it worse. The standard treatments: bleed the patient to rebalance the humors, lance the buboes open, apply poultices, move from house to house, patient to patient, with the same instruments and the same hands. The physicians of 1348 aren't fools. They're brave men executing flawlessly a completely wrong theory. Every treatment either weakens the patient or helps the infection travel. Meanwhile in Avignon, the Pope's personal physician, Guy de Chauliac, maybe the best doctor alive, does something remarkable. He stays. He catches the plague, survives it, and writes down everything he sees with brutal honesty, including how little his medicine can do. And his patient, the Pope? He spends the summer sitting between 2 enormous fires to purify the corrupted air. Wrong theory, but the heat keeps the fleas away. He lives. Sometimes in 1348, you survive by being wrong in exactly the right way. Day 20. A sound of chanting on the road. The flagellants have arrived. Processions of penitents whipping themselves bloody, town to town, convinced the plague is divine punishment and pain is the payment. Crowds pour out to watch them, hundreds of people packed shoulder to shoulder around travelers who've walked through every infected town in the region. They came to stop the plague. They're delivering it. Within a year, the Pope bans the processions, and then fear finds its darkest shape. People need someone to blame, and a rumor spreads that the wells have been poisoned, and the blame lands on the Jewish communities of Europe. In city after city, neighbors turn on neighbors. In Strasbourg, thousands are murdered in a single day. The Pope himself issues decrees pointing out the obvious. The plague is killing Jewish families exactly like everyone else, and shelters them in his own lands. It barely slows the violence. Remember this part. The plague doesn't just kill through fleas, it kills through fear. Day 15. You can now hear the city dying. Every funeral gets a tolling bell. That's the custom. And by now the bells overlap all day from every parish. Then the council makes a decision that tells you everything. They order the bells silenced. The sound is destroying what's left of morale. And somehow the silence that follows is worse. In your city from this day on, death stops being an event. It's just the weather. Day 12. Your street looks like this now. Shops shuttered, doors marked, grass starting to grow between the cobblestones because the feet that kept it worn away are gone. A writer in Florence, Giovanni Boccaccio, survives this and writes down the thing nobody wants to remember. Brother abandoned brother, wives their husbands, and worse, fathers and mothers refused to visit or tend their own children. Not because people were monsters, because the disease made caring for someone a possible death sentence, and 30 days of that arithmetic breaks almost anyone. When you judge 1348, judge gently. You haven't been tested like this. The system for handling death collapses next. Priests are dying faster than anyone. There aren't enough left for last rites, so the Pope grants absolution to anyone who dies without one. Gravediggers become the highest paid workers in the city, desperate men called becchini, hired for fortunes because everyone else refuses. Coffins run out, then graves run out. A Florentine chronicler describes the trenches, bodies and earth in layers, he writes, like lasagna. When the metaphors get that casual, a society is past horror and into numbness. Priest version of you, this is your moment of decision. Some of your brother clergy have already fled, and their parishioners will hate them for generations. If you stay and do your job, you'll enter houses the gravediggers won't. Nearly half the priests who stay will die. Here's the uncomfortable truth history keeps quiet. In 1348, the survivors were often the cowards, and the dead were often the best ones. Courage had a mortality rate. Day 5. Enough horror. Let's talk about what actually worked. Because some people did survive this on purpose. The physicians of the time compressed it into 3 Latin words: Cito, Longe, Tarde. Leave fast, go far, come back slow. It sounds like a joke. It's not. It's a nearly perfect anti-epidemic algorithm 400 years before anyone knew what a germ was. The people who did all 3 early mostly lived. Rule 1 and 2, leave fast, go far. Noble you and merchant you can do this. The destination matters. Away from ports, away from trade roads, up into hill country where carts don't go, because the plague travels with commerce, so you run where commerce doesn't. But here's the trap that kills the rich. One more week. One more shipment. One more contract, one more sermon that it's all exaggerated. The survivors left in October looking paranoid. The confident ones left in November, carrying it with them. Can't leave? Then look at Milan, the city that wrote the most brutal answer in Europe. When plague appeared in a house, the authorities walled it up. Doors and windows bricked shut, with the families inside, the sick and the healthy together. It is monstrous. And it worked. While cities around them lost half their people, Milan lost perhaps 15%, one of the lowest tolls of any great city in Europe. Sit with that math for a second, because 1348 keeps asking this question. How much cruelty buys how many lives? For everyone who stays, survival is a list of small, unglamorous rules. Stock food so you don't visit the market. Don't gather in crowds. No processions, no packed churches, no plague watching. And the one almost nobody understood. Never touch the clothes or bedding of the dead. Fleas wait in wool for weeks. Chroniclers describe looters who put on a dead man's cloak and were dead themselves within days. In 1348, a free coat is the most expensive thing you can own. Peasant U plays a different game entirely, the village lottery. Some villages sit far from any road, trade nothing that season, and the plague simply never finds them. Their whole war is boredom. Other villages get one infected visitor, a peddler, a returning son, and lose every single soul, so completely that the village disappears from the map forever. England alone has hundreds of these ghost villages. Your isolation is your armor, and one knock on the gate can undo all of it. Notice something about everything that works. Nobody knows why it works. The Pope's fires purify air. Actually, they repel fleas. Fleeing escapes the miasma. Actually, it breaks the chain of contact. Even the incense smoke people hide behind bothers insects. History is written by survivors who did the right things for the wrong reasons and called it wisdom. Keep that in your pocket for the end of this story. Day 0. It's in your street now. The house 2 doors down is marked, and you can hear a child crying behind the wall. Everything compresses into one question. Have you already made your decisions? Because by day 0, it's too late to start deciding. The road is dangerous, the markets are closed, the walls are watched. In 1348, write this down, survival belongs to the early, not to the strong. The wave takes 6 to 8 months to pass through a city, and when it finally exhausts itself, the numbers are like nothing in human history, before or since. Europe loses somewhere between 1/3 and half of everyone alive, tens of millions of people in about 4 years. Florence loses more than half. Some regions lose 2 out of 3, and a few lucky pockets, shielded by geography and distance, are barely touched, proof that the dice were always part of the story. And then, the cruelest epilogue, it comes back. 13 years later, a second wave arrives, and this one is remembered as the Children's Plague, because it harvests the generation born after the first wave, the ones with no survivors' resistance. Then it returns again, and again, every decade or so, for more than 3 centuries. The Black Death isn't an event. It's a new season of the world, and Europe will live in it for 300 years. So, did you survive? Peasant. Coin flip, decided mostly by geography you didn't choose. Merchant who stayed with the warehouse? Probably not. Merchant who abandoned the goods in October? Probably yes, poorer and alive. Parish priest who did the job? Roughly half of you are gone, and your name is remembered in your village for a century. Physician. Many die, but the survivors write the books that begin modern medicine. And the noble who left fast, went far, came back slow. You make it, and you come home to a world that no longer works the way it did. Whatever version of you made it, congratulations, and steady yourself, because the strangest part of this story isn't the dying. It's what the survivors woke up to. Half the workers in Europe are gone, and suddenly, for the first time in centuries, labor is precious. If you survived with 2 working hands, your wages double, then triple. Peasants who are bound to a lord's land simply walk away, because 3 villages over, someone desperate will pay them real money and ask no questions. The most rigid social pyramid in 1,000 years starts cracking at the base. The lords panic. In England, they pass a law, the Statute of Labourers, literally making it illegal to pay a worker more than pre-plague wages. Imagine outlawing a raise. It fails everywhere, because arithmetic doesn't care about parliaments. Within a generation, the peasants are marching on London in open revolt, and within a century, serfdom in Western Europe is effectively dead. The fleas did what no rebellion ever managed. And slowly, out of the emptiness, a different world grows. Survivors inherit. Survivors eat better. Cities rebuild with money concentrated in fewer, richer hands. New universities are founded. And medicine, humiliated, finally starts over. From observation this time. The most important invention comes from a small merchant republic on the Adriatic, Ragusa. A generation after the Great Dying, they order every arriving ship to wait in isolation before anyone comes ashore. First 30 days, then 40. In their dialect, 40 days is 40 giorni. Say it faster. Quarantine. The word your world used in its own pandemics was invented by people who never saw a microbe. They beat an invisible enemy with a calendar and a harbor chain. Step back and look at the whole 30 days. The plague never only tested bodies, it tested societies. Fear produced the flagellants and the pogroms. Greed kept the ports open. And discipline, cold, unglamorous discipline, produced Milan, Ragusa, and the boring rules that saved cities. Every pandemic since has run the same experiment, same test, new century. And before you judge anyone in this story, be honest about the version of you that's really watching this. Knowing nothing about germs, raised on humours and star charts, with your children coughing in the next room, you'd have carried flowers too. You'd have blamed the air, or the planets, or a stranger. The people of 1348 weren't stupider than you. They were exactly you, minus 7 centuries of borrowed knowledge. Because here's the lineage nobody thinks about. When your world locked down, kept distance, and counted days of isolation, that wasn't new science. That was 1348's playbook, polished for 700 years. The survivors of the Black Death, who never saw their enemy even once, wrote the first chapter of every pandemic manual on Earth. 2,200 people went down with the Titanic, believing nothing could go wrong. In 1348, an entire continent learned that everything can, and rebuilt anyway. You live in the world those survivors made. Their wages, their universities, their quarantines, their stubborn refusal to stay broken. History's darkest chapters have a strange habit of writing the next world's first pages. And because you made it to the end, you know how this works. Here's one more fact. Close your eyes and picture the Black Death. You're seeing him, aren't you? The plague doctor, the long black coat, the bird mask with the pointed beak. Here's the thing. That costume didn't exist in 1348. It was invented around 1619 by a French royal physician, nearly 300 years after the Black Death. The most famous image of the plague never saw the plague. And even that costume is a perfect 1348 joke. The beak was stuffed with herbs and perfumes to filter the corrupted air that doesn't exist. Wrong theory one more time. But the waxed leather coat covering every inch of skin, fleas can't bite through it. Wrong reason, right result. The entire story of medieval medicine sewn into one outfit. If you survived tonight, subscribe. Next time, you wake up in the year 79 in the most beautiful bay in the Roman Empire, at the foot of a green mountain that nobody knows is a volcano. One more fact. See you in Pompeii.